Okay. Already recording, so we don't need that. Um, all right. Being that it is 10 a.m. and our scheduled meeting time is for 1 hour. And we are recording, so that's good. Let's let this fly. Since our meeting time is for 1 hour, and that's all the time essentially I have for a little, other than for a little Q&A afterwards, I'll go ahead and get started. And I just want to thank everybody today for either being here on the webinar or requesting to view it later. It's kind of amazing. I wrote this webinar, but I wrote it based on an actual course that I took, and essentially, I just took the data and the information and really just mapped it out, and tied the two together, the two documents together with a number series, so that as you dig into this in your practice, you don't have to be an AI engineer to understand where we're going with this. A little bit about me. I am a 26-year, it's been that long, 26-year veteran of search engine optimization and digital marketing. I worked in the real estate industry for 20 years before that as a broker agent. And, found that my true passion and true love was for marketing and digital marketing. So I do a lot of web development. I create websites. I do technical SEO. I do content strategy. I do a lot of paid marketing, whether that be on Meta, TikTok, Instagram. Google search is still quite large. And so 3 years ago, in 2023, well, it was late 2022, I learned about AI, and I thought, wow, this is really going to take over. And so far, there's been nothing to prove me wrong. And here we are in 2026, and it's just getting more and more interesting now with agentic AI and building your own agents that can literally take over some of your work, with guardrails. Of course, you don't want to just let the AI run. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. I want to first, though, show you the two documents. This one you'll be getting. The slide deck I'll give you if you want. Otherwise, you can have the recording. Either or, just let me know. Shoot me an email or a text, and I'm glad to share that with you. But as we start moving through this, you'll see that each one of these sections has a number and it's color coded. And this document, which is the actual prompt document, has the same numbering system. And so it's not color coded, but you'll see here, 01 lines up to 01. So when you put these two documents together, you'll get the strategy and the basics here. Over on this document, you'll get essentially the actual prompt that's going to give you the correct output. So that being said, let's go ahead and get rolling. We'll start at the beginning. I'm just going to go through the slides. I'm not going to go through the document because you'll get that and you won't need it. And I'm going to get rid of this Zoom thing over here. We'll put that up here somewhere. Hopefully that doesn't come through the video. So welcome to 101 Practical Ways to Improve Your Business SEO with AI. And this is essentially for any business. However, I am going to tailor it to the dental industry. I have been in the dental industry specifically for about 8 years, working with companies like Act Dental and BioResearch. Some of my good friends include Mike Smith, Ray Becker, Robert Kirstein, some of the people that have practiced um, physiological dentistry have been good friends over the years. Dr. Steve Olmos is a friend. Um, I worked with him at the BioResearch annual conference, and so I do have a lot of dental marketing expertise, and I am glad to share that with any of you. So let's get moving. All right. Well, I think we're going to get moving. There we go. Well, there we go. Okay. So the promise of today's session is you will leave with a practical framework using AI and SEO and making your practice more visible. And so I'm going to tailor this to a lot of the local marketing versus just generalized SEO, right? Because as a dental practitioner or a hygienist, you will not need you won't need to, be seen all across the country. And if you do, you can still use these scenarios to get found better. It just takes a little more horsepower. So what we're going to do today is we're going to find you better opportunities. We're going to improve your most important pages. We're going to show you how to make data actionable, and then we're going to show you some ways to just make sure that you're not letting AI off the chain where it tends to make mistakes. And AI makes SEO faster. The strategy that you create will make it better. Today's roadmap is 9 modules, 1 practical implementation path. It's going to take about 60 minutes. I've done this webinar a couple of times now, and the last time it took exactly 60 minutes. So hopefully you've got that much time, and hopefully we can make some of the more technical stuff a little more brief and get down to what really matters most, and that is the local and the research piece, actually. So when you want to use AI in your practice, AI should support your business, but you should still run your business, right? So AI is not going to do SEO for you. AI is going to help you do some of the stuff that is not good for people to do, some of the research, some of the structure. It's going to make it go faster, which is great because SEO sometimes takes a long time. I work with a lot of practices for local SEO, and it can take up to 12 months for a program to really start to take hold. So AI is proven to speed that up quite a bit, and that's what we're going to teach you how to do. So the first thing you want to do is define your goal. What is it that you want to do today? What is it that you want from your SEO program? Do you want to get found more locally? I believe that for most dental practices, it's getting more patients in the chair, but not just more patients in the chair, it's more paying patients in the chair. And that comes from being found more locally, being more involved in the community. And when you get found more locally, your opportunities to get involved multiply. So the first thing you want to do is, what's my business goal, right? Trying to get more patients in the chair. We're going to use data to understand that opportunity, and AI can actually do a lot of that research for you. We're going to add your local knowledge and expertise and brand voice to the AI, and then we're going to go ahead and push things out to the web and then measure what happens so that we can keep improving. And a great AI mindset is AI will help us execute a smarter SEO process, not do it for us. So, where does AI actually fit in? Well, AI is essentially a tool like any other computer. Um, AI is an LLM, which stands for large language model. And essentially, this might be a little difficult to understand, but the purpose of AI is to predict what's going to happen next or predict the future and then create output based on what it thinks the future is going to be. So, how you can use it for SEO is to do your research, and that is finding your correct keywords and your correct phrases that people are searching for um, when they have intention, right? And that is when they intend to make an appointment, when they're in pain, when they are in a place where they don't feel good about themselves and they want to look better. These are places that show intent, and your keywords and questions. And Q&A is going to be a big part of this as we go forward. You'll learn that when you start getting these correct, your business will actually take off. AI will help you to structure outlines. It will help you to organize those keywords into clusters, create page maps and content briefs, and then at the end of the day, it's going to start creating some of this for you. And at which time you will then analyze and QC it to your voice, making sure it's your voice. And if it's not your voice, how to prompt the AI to learn from it. And then what you'll do is you'll plug in your Google Search Console and your Google Business profile, and it will improve those things to get you found better locally. And then essentially, it will eventually quality control itself with the prompts that you use to help it double and triple check its own work. And this is just a piece of advice that I throw out there because doing this for 26 years, many times people have wanted to try to do this all at once from end to end, right? And I'm not saying you can't do it that way, but it doesn't make sense from a process standpoint. Because if you just start from square one and go all the way through an SEO process, it's going to be months before you see really any sort of impact. But if you know what issue that you're trying to solve, i.e., taking it back to the goal, you can start there and then have improvements happen quicker. So, just a quick run through of where you might want to start. If you're not getting any traffic, start with keywords. If you're getting some traffic but not leads, start with conversion optimization and user experience. If you are not getting found locally, or you're finding that you can't find your profile on a local search, then you've got to work on your Google Business profile and some location pages. And then if you've got confusing audit reports, and I can do audits for you, I can lay out your entire digital platform and show you where to improve. But if that stuff's confusing to you, then use AI to make it simpler. And then if you have no idea about what's working at all, using the AI to analyze your data is critical. And that's actually a pretty good way to start, because when you analyze your data first, it kind of gives you that spot where you need to start. Choose one bottleneck now, and then that makes everything more relevant. And you can see results in 30 days instead of 90. All right. So that said, let's start with slide one, AI SEO basics. And the one thing that I can't speak to enough is setting the strategy before you use the tools, right? So when you're using AI, and how I use AI to create content for my clients is, what is the goal? Let's strategize around the goal and how we're going to attack before we actually start prompting the AI. Well, clicker. All right. So what you want to do is you want to start out with business outcomes, right? Um, a great prompt starter is my business is dental practice in um, Seattle, Washington. My goal is more patients. Suggest the top SEO priorities and explain why each matters. Now, so this is going to spit out a pretty lengthy report, and it may be relevant, it may not be so relevant. However, um, what it will give you is a structure, right? And then you can turn that into priorities. So, how do you want to start? What's most important? And how do you actually begin? So, what you want to do is lead with your priorities, right? More calls, more appointments, more consultations, um, more local patients in the chair. Essentially, is what's going to be good for dental practices. And then you want to capture um, some calls, form fills, reviews, and sales conversations, and then turn that using AI into FAQs because that shows pure intent, right? And then the other thing you want to do is clarify who your best customer is. And what I have is called a one-page patient persona. And essentially, this is it's a persona document that I created around my wife, who is the perfect dental patient. She gets dental treatments, she gets her teeth cleaned, she pays with cash or pays, with a credit card. She doesn't really use insurance, and she's religious about making appointments and sticking to them. That's a pretty good customer. So you want to clarify that in as much detail as you can so that you know who to aim at. So then what you want to do next is build a safe AI SEO operating system. So you want to explain your goals in plain English to your team. We want to do this because it's important to keep our information out there. It's important to build new customers with content, and it's important to be found for people who are looking to get out of pain. Maybe they need a root canal. Maybe they're just looking for a cleaning. You want all those people to be able to find you locally. You want to create an opportunity list. Here's where we're going to start. Here are the things we're going to tackle because they're semi-easy and they have an impact. You want to separate strategy from production tasks. And many practices who don't engage with an agency for marketing will separate these tasks into some of the folks who do more administrative work. Usually it's an office manager, but sometimes it's other people too. You want to build a realistic 30-day sprint, essentially, and that is a list of tasks that you're going to have people do to make an impact. And we call that in programming, we call that sprinting. Before you start creating content, after you create your strategy and your goals, you want to start creating content. But before you start creating content, you have to create your brand. And what I mean by brand in this context is you want to identify what you want to sound like. Is it friendly? Do you have a professional tone? Are you more airy and light? Are you heavier? Whatever that is to you as a practice owner, you want to define that in as much detail as you can get, because as we go through this and as you start doing this work, having a good brand definition makes the output 100 times better. You want to create a safe content workflow, and what I mean by that, and you'll see this at the end. Creating a safe content workflow means that you're still vetting content, you're still getting a feedback loop, and that way, something AI creates that perhaps needs editing doesn't end up getting out the door. And then you want to identify your topics that are going to require expert review. And so a good example is when I was working with John Radke over at BioResearch Associates. He's a guy that writes several papers annually. And, you know, if I had to write a paper on the somatonathic system and how jaw joint alignment can basically affect your entire physiology, I wouldn't want AI to write that and then not read it because there would definitely be mistakes. So the workflow is you get an idea, and AI can create these ideas for you too, and we'll get to that. You'll create an idea, you'll draft an outline, you'll have AI draft the content, a human being will edit it, you'll fact check it, and then you'll SEO it. And what I mean by SEO it is you'll attach that document back into a prompt and have the AI do an SEO analysis and then also create a meta title and a meta description. And then you'll publish that, and then you'll measure the outcome in terms of, your KPIs, and that's traffic and people in chairs. So let's start working on keyword research and search intent. Let's find the right searches and match each one up to a landing page that makes sense for your patients. So what you want to do is you want to brainstorm seed keywords. And that is starting with services that you provide, the locations that you're in, any products that you might sell after the patient session, problems that your patients have on a regular basis, and then the questions that they might have. And the questions usually have something to do with either billing or process, or can I do this or can I do that? Orthodontics probably get a ton of questions on what kids can eat. And then you want to group those. All that data you want to group by intent. What are the people looking to do? And that's critical because it allows you to keep your finger on the pulse of your customer and what they're trying to get done. And so when you group this by search intent, it allows you then to structure, and Google says this very well. Google says that when you structure your keywords and pages around tightly themed groups, we will rank those pages higher in our search index. And there's no difference between a search index and AI right now, other than about 38% of searches are actually just AI responses now instead of links. And so you want your company to show up well in those AI responses, and we'll get to some of that too. But then to get back into this, once you have those keywords, questions, problems grouped by search intent, you're going to look for specific high intent phrases that show clear need or urgency. And what I will say about this is that inevitably when you're doing this research, and I've done this for 26 years, and I don't know that I've ever done a project where I didn't have this happen, you'll find keywords that you never knew existed that will literally be the highest performing keywords that you have. And that's because customers search a problem and they don't know exactly what to call it, so they just search around it. It's like they're beating around the bush because they don't know the exact phraseology. And those keywords will be quite valuable. And then the last thing here is you want to discover problem keywords, right? And you want to turn customer angst into search results. Because if your customers aren't happy with another provider, that's a perfect customer for you in some respects, unless they're just a bad person, in which case you'll find that out in a hurry anyway. So then what you want to do is map all that search to the right pages, right? So what does each person want? What is the best page type? Where are you going to send the people in those searches? You're either going to have service pages, a local page, and if you have more than one location, how I would structure that would be to build a location page for each location, and then build a location menu item at the top of your website and have each one of those locations as its own page, and make sure that they're structured the same but don't have the same content. because then the Google machine will look at that as separate, unique landing pages around that specific area. You also want to have articles, which is your blog. You want to have comparison pages, which you might be comparing services. You might be comparing pricing. You might be comparing what you offer at one office to another office. And then the other thing you want to do is find out, do we have a current page that suits some of these context groups? And you will. Your service pages for sure will. But what you want to do is keep your pages to five to 8 keywords per page, and really focus on that. And then what you want to do is decide whether to gap or fix. And gap meaning create new content, fixing meaning improve, merge, or differentiate. And then let's get into content next. So now you've done your keyword research. You've grouped your context together. You've decided that you want to make some pages, improve some other pages, and you're now getting to the point where you're like, holy cats, there's a lot of work to be done here. So let's now jump into content and what's called on-page SEO, and that is making sure that your pages are themed and appropriately contexted and have meta tags. So using AI, the best thing to do here, we'll just take service pages, right? We'll just take one of your services. You want to create a page outline. And what I typically will do in this respect is I will copy the text on the page and paste it into a prompt, and then do a prompt that says, review this service page and identify what's missing from an SEO and customer conversion perspective. And what you'll get is another sort of list of items that you can do to improve that page. And typically what I'll follow that up with is, if I feel like the AI response is spot on, I will just let the AI go and say, okay, recreate the content for this page. And it will recreate the content for the page. And that's how you can quickly improve your page content. You want to also ask it to find and add appropriate sections, call to actions, vagueness, and get rid of vagueness because you really want detail. And AI is perfect for being vague. You really have to pull detail out of it sometimes. And ask it to add absent proof points, which is your reviews and complaints sometimes that other people might have. And then you want to add FAQ sections specifically on service pages, because service pages are where most of your questions come out naturally. And then small page elements can create big clarity gains. And when you're trying to be found on AI, the best thing you can do is have a very clear, contextually clear themed page that makes total sense. So, and these numbers here on the left are the prompts in the other document that I'm going to send you. But what you want to do is you want to write cleaner page titles, more specific to that service. You want to draft click-worthy meta descriptions, and the meta descriptions show up in the search and AI results. You want to improve headings for people who skim content like I do. You want to rewrite dense copy to make it more simple and readable. And just a rule of thumb is, I write for people who comprehend at a 5th grade level because it's just easier to read. And you want to add proof points where claims need support. And also you want to add proof points and reviews around your call to action buttons and on your contact page, so that when people are in the moment and they are thinking about reaching to you, you've got proof there that everybody loves you. And then you want to replace vague calls to action with clear next steps. What do I do now? Am I gonna learn more? No, you're not going to learn more. You're going to create an appointment, get an appointment for a root canal or get a cleaning. Whatever it is, make your calls to action very clear in terms of next steps. And then you want to use the AI to refresh outdated content. Giving the answer first on a page and then explaining it gives it to the people twice, because the brain can figure it out just with the quick answer. But then when you dig deeper and go that next level, it does create that next level of security that you're the people that they want to work with. And then you want to create some content that matches your buyer's questions, your patient's questions. You want to repurpose a topic, turn one idea into a blog, FAQ, email, social post, checklist, and a video script. And AI will do this for you. And prompt number 31 is exactly that. It's the prompt that will turn one idea, let's say cleaning, for example, into all that content for you. It's a lot of content to actually go through and review, but at the same time, once you review it, all you have to do is publish it. You want to do some comparisons, create different options, methods, different providers. Who supplies what? Veneers versus cleaning, I don't know. And you've got also different providers for Invisalign, that kind of stuff. You want to create some of that buzz around that, so that when you get people who are actually interested in those topics, you're feeding them good information. And just a general tip is just that if anytime you're creating content, you're trying to reduce uncertainty. Create content that is specific enough that it leaves the patient or prospective patient going, yes, okay, that is what I need. Because that actually improves conversions, and getting that specific is one of the big levers in improving your SEO. So answer pricing questions right there on the site if you can, and then explain what to expect. That's a huge thing, because explaining what happens next, explaining what to expect, reduces uncertainty a lot. All right, now the fun part, local and your Google business profile. And if you don't have a Google business profile, you have a big issue. A lot of practices today maximize their local SEO just using their Google business profile, and some have not even claimed theirs yet. So there's one issue with the Google business profile that you may or may not have run into, and that is validating it, because Google will not let you take ownership of it or make changes to it until it's validated. And right now, that's a process that has to do with video, creating a video. Some people breeze right through that. I've had businesses where I've had to do it 5 or 6 different times. Google does that to reduce people who are trying to fake business ownership. And it does that so that your competitor can't take over your profile. So, at the end of the day, it's a pain, but it's a good pain, because once you're verified, people build trust. So the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is to post content directly to your Google business profile on a regular basis. And it doesn't have to be every day. You can, and some businesses do. I work with a client in Plymouth, Wisconsin, that they post more than once a day to their Google business profile, and they have the top profile in search. But the biggest thing, I think, is drafting a clear and accurate description of what you provide, your services, the value of those services, and your location. And if you serve specific neighborhoods, spell those out explicitly. People sometimes do search neighborhoods to find things. And so when you have that in your description, it's gonna make you pop up for those names. Plan your posts around services, seasonal tips, reminders, educational points, pain points, questions. And you can do that with the AI. AI will drive that for you. and that's post number or prompt number 37. And then what you want to do is create location page outlines. So this is not on Google Business Profile. This is on your website. You want to create location pages that talk about who you are and what you do in your neighborhood. And when I say in your neighborhood, I mean your specific neighborhood, and you have to list those out. And you don't want to create those pages to be identical to each other if you have more than one location, because Google will pick one of those and get rid of the rest. And then reviews. You want to ask for reviews. If you're not asking for reviews, you're asking to not be reviewed. And being reviewed is a huge trust piece. And it's also a big signal in Google for your Google business page. So you want to, if you get any negative reviews or ones that you just feel like you have to respond to, be safe about your response. Say what you want, be as generic as possible. Don't ever use customer information in responding to a review, because that is a HIPAA issue, and one that could cost you down the road. You want to request reviews on everything that you send out. If you send transactional emails, if you send out SMS messages, if you print cards or have little flyers at your front desk, make sure that in there somewhere, but it's very clear to see that you're requesting customer reviews. And then you want to analyze your reviews for themes, different phrases that customers are using. Remember, going back to building those keyword lists, you want to use those phrases in your keyword research. All right, and now let's build a local content engine. You want to localize your service content with what's called true regional context. And that is when you're building out your pages for your services, in those pages, explicitly talk about where you serve those people. You want to generate local FAQ topics. And a great thing to do is to just put a local description of something near your office. Our office is located on Partridge Lane, right across the street from the water tower. That's a perfect one because it provides more of that local feel. You want to improve your directory listing descriptions. And I have a tool for this. It's called MOZ Local. And if you don't know about that, you should probably look it up. I provide this service for, I think it's $350 for a year. Essentially what it does is it takes your Google business profile and it synchronizes that data over all the directories on the internet. And it's thousands of them. And that service alone is a fantastic SEO tool because it not only improves your digital presence on the web, it also creates thousands of backlinks back to your site, which is horsepower. You want to brainstorm your local partnerships and sponsorships. You want to sponsor the right things. You want people in the local community to know that you're there. And then you want to be able to build a 12-month local content calendar that speaks to locations, that speaks to neighborhoods. And then you want to create neighborhood-specific talking points. So local content works best when it speaks to actual people, and it speaks to the actual market that you serve. And so when you talk about becoming more prominent locally and getting your business profile on maps and number one on that profile search result page, it's the more you talk about what you do locally, the more that's going to resonate. All right. So technical. I'm not going to really go. I'm going to go through this really fast because it's not something that most business people want to do. It's fairly critical. It needs to be done, but most people just don't want to do this. And quite honestly, that's why you hire someone like me to do this for you. So technical SEO is kind of hard to understand. But once you use AI, it can make it simpler. What you want to do is use the AI to explain crawl issues. Crawl issues are essentially why your pages are not showing up on the internet. Google will explain your crawl issues so that you can fix them. The problem with that is that most of the fixes are technical in nature and you won't really understand how to do it. But you want to prompt the AI to explain all your crawl issues on your entire website and give it the URL, and then have it prioritize the fixes based on what has the most impact and how much effort it takes to do each one. So it will create a list for you based on what's gonna have the most amount of impact on the less amount of effort. And then you want to summarize your speed issues. And speed issues, to be honest with you, after 26 years, there's still speed issues I barely understand. And so it's a big lever to pull because a fast website gets ranked higher in Google, but it's difficult to understand. So technical AI fixes can help organize. Schema is basically the directions that tell the internet what your pages look like. Alt image text is important because alt image text makes you ACA compliant and also improves your relevancy in Google. Creating redirect mapping. And unless you're changing website providers or building a whole new website from scratch, you won't need to really do redirects, and you won't have many broken links. So those two are kind of you want to improve your URL structure, and it will help you to do that. You want to identify duplicate or thin pages. Thin pages are pages that Google says, yeah, this page means nothing. I'm probably not going to do anything with it. You want to suggest internal links. And there's a prompt that will help you to do that. Internal links is, let's say you've got services that kind of relate to each other, or in the grand scheme, you do one after the other. And on your website, when you're talking about the first service, somewhere we get closer to the end, you're going to realize, well, okay, so either we can stop here or we can start talking about that other service. And putting a link there to the next logical service is creating internal links. And it's a great way to keep your website themes connected to each other. And then essentially review mobile usability. You want to go through your site, make sure it's mobile friendly. That's another huge lever for SEO. All right, we got 3 more to go, and I don't know how much time we have, so we're just going to keep going. Content strategy and authority. So content is really, in 26 years, the thing that's never changed. Authority has changed somewhat, not necessarily in a big way. Content has virtually stayed the same. Google has said, if you build good content, we will rank you higher and they will come. And authority is just kind of like the horsepower. So, but in the beginning of SEO, content was everything. Didn't really matter how many links you had pointing back to your website. But over time, and because of spammers, authority building became important because now Google says that every link back to your website from an outside website is a vote for your website. So building authority is around core services. Trying to build authority for something that you don't have or something you don't do doesn't make any sense. There's SEO companies out there that will try to talk you into doing this to broaden out your content base so that you get links for more items. But the reality of it is your core topics are really the ones that you should be focused on. And prompt number 59 will build those topic clusters for you. Prompt 60 will provide interview questions. Let's say you're going to a meeting and you're going to have a chance to talk to a Steve Olmos, for example, or a Bob Kirstein, or John Radke, or some of those people. You can use AI to generate questions that are going to flesh out proper keywords for your niche. And then you're going to want to turn notes into content. So expert notes, the notes from this particular webinar, I'm going to use to create draft content. So these 3 prompts are going to build authority around your core. And then you're going to find missing trust signals, create case study outlines, before and after content. So case studies and before and after content are fantastic for when you're doing either cleanings, veneers, reconstructions, all kinds of different things, right? And so you want to draft some posts around that, include the before and afters. You can turn those into case studies, create mistakes to avoid. You want to maybe create a plain English glossary. That was a big one about 10 years ago. People were doing that, and it was having a lot of impact. You want to convert objections into content, right? What are the biggest problems? How many times have you seen on a blog post the top 10 reasons to not go to the dentist? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it creates a buzz. And then you want to create content by awareness stage. So as you're building out your personas, you're gonna start to piece together where people are in the process of making decisions about what services to use and when to use them. You want to document that and create that as part of your patient personas. And then turn review themes into content ideas, right? Group those reviews into themes, create content around some of the best ones, because that's where you've done your best work. And one thing to keep in mind is if the copy that you're creating could describe any dentist or any competitor at all, it's not specific enough to you. It's not specific enough to your location. All right, now that's a lot of stuff. And this is going to bring it all together, because you're gonna want to analyze your statistics and your business insights to turn the data into decisions that are going to make it even better. So if you're not on Google Search Console and don't have your analytics hooked up to your Search Console, that would be the first step. Get your data, generate the data, get your analytics hooked up, get your Search Console hooked up. Because you really can't ask questions of the data unless you have the data, right? So when you do get these things hooked up, it takes a couple of days for it to start generating. But then you want to identify queries, identify searches where people have found you, identify click-through rate opportunities, and where you could do better for core services. What I would avoid there is trying to do better for every click-through. Because if it's not a core service or not something that you want to truly be recognized for, it's probably just going to be a waste of your time. And then the other thing you want to look for is anything that's in decline, because declining visibility can either be competitors coming into your market, or it can be a service that's gaining traction in the marketplace. And then you want to improve low click-through rate pages. And you do that with better titles and descriptions. And you also do that with just better content. And then you want to diagnose traffic drops. And each one of these is a prompt that we'll give you. And just for an example is analyze a Search Console export and identify pages gaining visibility, losing visibility, and recommend next actions. And so your Google console, your Search Console, essentially tracks your activity of your website in Google, and it literally tracks everything. So what you can do to make reporting useful, if you're not technical, and these are each prompts you can plug in there, create monthly SEO report summaries. And now using agentic AI, you can trigger that to run itself. And that's agentic AI is something that's coming up. It's very big. I'm starting to build programs with it right now that will literally do your entire marketing team from end to end and you don't even have to look at it. But it's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. You want to identify content refresh priorities, explain dashboard metrics in plain English. And sometimes what I'll do, if I don't want to do a full deep dive into my own analytics, I will dump the data into AI, and then I'll just ask it questions, what I really want to know today. And it will spit that out in plain English. You can really understand it, and then you can ask it to create checklists of the most important things to do next. You want to identify lead quality patterns, and AI is perfect for that. You want to turn call notes into SEO insights. If you use call rail or call tracking, it will build SEO insights around calls. You can build a content performance scorecard, which I actually just created one for a business industry. They're great because it tells you where you are, and what get looks at and tracked improves. So then you want to create next step recommendations. And so for good reporting, what happened, why is that important, and what should we do next to improve? All right. So for most of you, what is important to improve is conversions, trust, and user experience. I don't know a dental practice website that I've ever seen that is visually unappealing. I think that they're all very nice. I think dentists, I don't know what it is about the industry. Dentists seem to have an eye for just creating beautiful websites. So, but what's important is the page experience for the customer. You build these websites beautiful, they have great photography, everything looks like dentistry is the best thing in the world. But is the message right? Is the message there? Is it understandable? When you go to your homepage, and this is prompt number 81, is reviewing that homepage, do they within 2 seconds understand where they are, where you are, what to do next, and how to get what they want? They should. And so that prompt will help to get you there. You want to improve contact pages. Contact pages are a page where users kind of start going, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this. So you have to reduce friction in those pages. So prompt 82 will help you do that. And then the forms themselves. Only ask for what you need. And don't ask, don't put these huge forums out there and get all the data at once. It doesn't work. So a great prompt is review this page as a potential customer. What information is missing that might prevent someone from contacting us? And you'll get the truth from the AI because it's literally just doing what you ask. So using AI to reduce hesitation or reduce friction, create trust building microcopy. You can do this one paragraph at a time. Put in what you have and say, does this create trust? Prompt 84 will give you that. Place testimonials near relevant decision points. Like I said earlier, anytime that you're going to ask somebody to click a button or submit a form, you want to put some positive reviews or some trust building aspects near that. You want to write service specific calls to action. Nobody wants to learn more. Nobody wants to click here. You want to identify missing decision information. What do they need to make a decision? You know what their problem is. You're the one that's going to fix it, right? So what do they need to know? And making sure that you give that to them helps build that trust. If you don't use thank you pages every time someone fills out a form, you're missing a huge opportunity. So build out those thank you pages, redirect your forms to those thank you pages, and ask AI to improve them for customer trust. So when you do that and you have a good thank you page, you'll be surprised that you will start seeing less and less missed appointments because people they're growing more comfortable with you on every interaction that they have. Create some follow-up email sequences. And if you're not doing automation right now, we should talk because we can set that up for you very easily. It doesn't take a whole lot today. I remember when there was only two automation providers in basically the whole entire world. Now there's about 600. Um, but it's important to have sequences, not to the point where they're intrusive, but you want to build that trust. And then you want to turn your copy into sales enablement material. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to say to yourself, when you look at a website page, a service page in particular, if I were to print this page, could I hand it to a customer and tell them, this is what you need to know about this service? And if you can't, you need to work on this. And using AI, you can actually print PDFs, ask it to turn a web page into a visually appealing PDF, and it will do that for you. And then you just print it out as needed. All right. And so the last piece of this, and then I'll run through the document that I'm sending everybody, is the AI search, brand visibility, and future proofing of your business. And really, that's all about creating systems and improving your brand description. So preparing your brand for AI assisted search, and this is also getting found using AI, you want to clarify your entity. And what's meant by that is you want to have a consistent description. You want to have an exact description of what you do. And sometimes that gets a little detailed and a little lengthy, and that's okay. But the clarity and thematrical nature of how you describe yourself is exactly how AI is going to describe you too. And there's a file out there called the llms.txt file. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a file that you put on your web server that tells the AI everything about your business. And if you want help creating one of those, reach out. I'm glad to help you do that. There's a short version and a long version, and they're two different files. But if you don't have that living on your web server, the AI is not going to find you and pick you up. You want to build a source of truth. You want to have approved wording around your services. You want to have approved sentences and be very clear about them because it helps your clarity. You want to have a source of truth for your brand voice, your offers, and this is just stuff. This is kind of basic, but in a busy dental practice, people just say what comes out. Even though it might not be on brand or it might not be approved, it gets the patient to the next level. It gets the bill paid. It gets the service completed. But you want to really build a source of truth around your brand so that, anybody that is doing some of this work can explain it properly. And then you want to make pages for AI answers. And that means create content that's structured, factual, direct, and easy to summarize. And a prompt for that is just review this page for AI readiness, clear answers, structure, factual consistency, and trust signals. Pretty simple. So future-proofing your content system is improving your about page, create author and expert bios for the people who are creating content. And I would say that needs to be done for each of your dentists and potentially hygienists. Hygiene has become such a buzzword over the last few years that hygienist credibility is something that's gaining importance. Checking whether copy sounds generic or not, and generic copy is basically like stuff AI throws in the garbage. If it's super generic, AI just doesn't want it. Creating original data or insight ideas. Add concise answer blocks in strategic places on your webpage. Audit your brand consistency across all your pages. And creating a content maintenance plan. And take a little bit of content every month and just look at it, improve it, base it on your Search Console results. And then build yourself an SEO action scorecard so that every month you're moving in the right direction and you're not duplicating work. So future proofing is less about chasing every new tool and doing the things that really matter most, which is to have that content clarity, have a very clear and understandable brand, and then using the two together to create content that makes sense for your users. So I've created a action plan, 30-day action plan, and that is to clarify the foundation, making sure that you do this around your top goals. And that's profile, your business profile, your services, your locations, your keyword lists, customer questions, and then use that information to improve your key pages, and then strengthen your local visibility with your Google business profile. Use that description, start posting content to there, and then learn how to measure and plan your next steps, because that's going to be just as important, so that you're not going in the wrong direction. But I will say going in a direction is better than the wrong direction. But going in the right direction is definitely better than all that. So here's a quick scorecard, and this is going to be on the document that I send you. Which area would create the biggest impact if you improved it this month? And I would say for most people, having a clear set of goals and having a better local SEO are the two that are definitely going to help. And then I'm going to send you this document. It's an AI visibility review. And actually, I'll do this review for you. If you just shoot me an email or a text, go to my website and do a contact us page, whatever you want to do. We'll create a 30-minute appointment at a time that makes sense to you. I'll look over your marketing and I will create a visibility review. And that means if you don't have an LLMS.text page, if you have a business profile page that maybe isn't as good as it should be, we'll talk about that and what should be done first and create that action plan for you. And then, go from there. Whether you want to hire someone to do that or you want to use internal staff to do that, it's completely up to you, but having a direction is definitely important. All right. I'm going to stop here. And I want to just thank everybody for joining me. And we'll put our contact information out there for you. And email you since you signed up for this. And I look forward to talking with each of you down the road.